everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you may be.
And welcome back to episode 2 of Screwballs the Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gallo. My trusty sidekick here, Brian.
Heyo.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. Bye.
We keep him under the stairs in the dungeon. Just have him pull stats up and stuff like that. We don't want to get too involved with them. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for tuning in again. Hope you enjoyed our first episode. It was wasn't a trial run. We just said fuck it and threw it out there. We hope you liked it. We know things will get better, get it smoother, but really hope you enjoyed it. Lenny Dykstra is quite the topic. If you enjoyed that. I didn't personally know how much criminal history was there. You know, we like to find colorful players that we all grew up remembering from our era. Colorful. It's a nice way to put it. He is, though. He's colorful. He's like Jake LaMotta. Like you respect, like you had mentioned in the episode, Brian, you respect the anti-hero, the kind of the buzz, the bang, the fuck offness of it all, right? But he was good. That's what I think we liked, was like, do you know how hard it is to play at that level, Brian? Major League?
It's
like most sports, insane. Like 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Some psycho parents putting you in year-round ball. And that's like your whole life as a kid. That's how it is now. It was probably different for Lenny, but you get it. It was very hard to play. And Lenny was doing what the rest of a lot of us were doing at that age, 25, 24, 25. He was partying. He was all about just trying to get chicks. He was hanging out with his friends, doing some blow, drinking, going to clubs. You know, it's what you do in your 20s. You experience the world. And the thing is,
back in the 70s too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because Lenny was going through that in the early 80s, because he surfaced as a rookie in 85 with the Mets. 86 was his breakout year, the one they went to the World Series.
That was after his rookie year?
I think his rookie year, no, 86 he came up. I think he was in AAA or something, and then he, like, I believe, I'm not positive, but Lenny came up, I believe, like beginning of 86, and just went gung-ho. Anyway, point is, like, weren't trying to really hammer Lenny.
Yeah.
Bullshit. We were. I mean, he's funny. He's got a bunch of shit. I have a bunch of friends that have a track record like that, and it's like they're still here, they're still kicking. Hence his nickname, Nails. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's admirable that he has lived the life he has, and he's still around. He's still, like, he tweets like a motherfucker. I've noticed that. He can't stay off social media. He needs attention. Lenny's not scared of his stories and his past, and he definitely wants to talk about it as a way to stay relevant.
He tweets every fucking minute, it seems like. Here's this one from April 23rd.
Guess who has gone 59 consecutive months without being arrested? Guess who, guys? This is what we were talking about last episode. Lenny counts the days of not being locked up the same way sober people do sobriety. You know, it's like, he's a hustler. He's always up to some bullshit. He's like, well, I'm not playing ball anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already tired and I'm 46. Right? Does that make sense? Lenny's 60 and he still has that fire in him where he's like, yeah, I got to find something to do. I got to make some money. I got to do this. And then, like, ideas, I think, come to his head. And then he's like, well, how can we go through this without having to do too much work or be too legal? You know what I mean? Because you can always make more money doing shit illegally. We all know that. Whether it's selling drugs or doing construction, you're gonna make more under the table, right? Like, absolutely, you're gonna like. So yeah, Lenny can't, like, that one. He's 59 months free. What's the one? He's had a great one. Bring it up. We're just doing a little recap of how busy Lenny is in social media. What was his one with Britney Spears we saw the other day? This was recently, right?
Yeah, this was yesterday. April 24th.
This is what I love about Lenny Dykstra. He's like a teenager that's cooped up in his home, really horny. Look at this. He's looking at this video that Britney, who also looks like a fucking quack, is sitting up there. Look at this video of her. It is pretty hysterical. She's nuts. I mean, whatever. She's just dancing, and she's in skimpy clothes, and I love that Lenny Dykstra is the guy. Like Lenny's sitting around all horny, just checking out. He's all, yeah, man, check out Brittany, man. Still got it, you know? She's from fucking Tennessee, dude. That'll be Lenny's thing. But yeah, so what's his tweet say? Pop that up again. I was too busy. My eyes are bad. I had like eyeball injection today. But yeah, from Lenny Dykstra at Brittany, shoot me a DM.
That's fucking awesome. How can you hate this guy?
That's what I'm saying, dude. This is bringing up his checkered past was a way to glorify him. And you may be thinking, why would you glorify shit like that, Jake? And I'm like, I don't know, because it's fascinating.
He lived through it.
If Lenny went to a recovery church and became like a born-again Christian, like Layritz and Strawberry did, I wouldn't bring him up. I don't even want to talk about him.
Yeah, who wants to talk about anything good like that?
That's boring as shit. You guys feel me on that, right? You know, talk about God and testimonials. It's like, that's lame. No, really. Like, whatever, dude. We're not getting it. That's boring. It's a waste of time. Yeah. But yeah, Lenny's still a legend. He's still got it. He's still got it. He's still got the knack to fucking
piss people off
and bother people. But then again, Brittany, why'd you put the video up wearing like a real skimpy thong? You were wearing underwear and like a raincoat or something, dancing around.
Her dad was right.
Yeah, I'm starting to think her old man was right. The dad, what's Brittany's dad's name? I don't want to go down the Britney Spears rabbit hole, but yeah, what?
Jamie Spears.
Jamie, holy shit! I almost said that. I was like, no, that's her mom.
That's her dad.
So
right
Jamie Spears. I'm starting to think Jamie Spears was onto something.
Mm-hmm. He's 70.
I think he was onto just taking all that money and being in control of it, but also looking at his daughter and going, yeah, you're fucking crazy.
He knew exactly what child stars turn out to be.
Yeah. He's the Olsen twins. Can name a few. Todd Bridges, Dana Plato. But anyway, so Lenny's still on it. But any other news from Lenny? No, just a couple tweets here and there.
Couple tweets,
bragging about staying out of jail and wanting to hook up on Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Yo, shoot me a DM. All right, Lenny. All right, let's go. You guys, let's cover what's happening in the league.
Sorry, another one from Lenny.
Oh, is there another thing from Lenny?
There's another thing from Lenny.
What's Lenny Dykstra got?
He did the same post, just a different tweet.
Oh yeah, no. Wait. Something tells me the sexy time with her wouldn't be boring. Lenny, that's sad. Lenny's way of putting out vibes.
Yeah, he's just feeling the room, you know.
I mean, sure, Lenny, you put enough vibes out, something's going to happen.
I mean, I just send out this vibe, and I have personally found that women do respond. I mean, something happens.
Well, naturally, something happens. I mean, you put the vibe out to 30 million chicks, something is going to happen.
That's the idea, Raz. That's the attitude.
The attitude?
Yeah, the attitude dictates that you don't care whether she comes, stays, lays, or prays. I mean, whatever happens, your toes are still tapping.
That is Lenny Dykstra's attitude, right?
Totally,
right?
Dude.
I mean, that's lots of guys' attitude, but that's classic Lenny sitting in his friend's home in Livingston, New Jersey, online, looking through Twitter, looking through social media, seeing people like Britney Spears, and Lenny's like, I think deep down, Lenny really thinks, I got a shot at this.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's Lenny, dude. Lenny was Damone in that clip. That's the attitude. You send out enough vibes, something's going to happen. That's great, dude. That's full Lenny, dude. Lenny Damone. Is it time, guys?
I think it's time.
Is it time for In the Dirt, dude?
In the Dirt. Let's go.
In the Dirt. All right, guys. So In the Dirt, if you picked up last week on our first episode, this is where we go into colorful major league players. Brian loves that term. Anytime I use the word colorful, he giggles like a little child. You're acting like there's monkeys in the room and someone's farting every 5 minutes. But we basically bring up people with checkered past, crazy incidences, things that happen in their career, their life, players maybe we're familiar with that we didn't know a bunch about, teams, team history of baseball. Today we're getting into a subject of, there's been a lot of talk over the last, I'd say, 30 years especially, about drug use in Major League Baseball. And when they say drug use, they're not talking about the fun drugs. They're talking about dumb shit, steroids, PEDs, human growth hormone, things that make you feel young every day of your life until eventually you collapse and get cancer and die from doing it for 10 years. I know cokeheads that have been doing it for 50 years. They're still here. Most guys that use steroids have one leg and pieces of their skin missing and fucking...
Jesus.
What? You ever heard of Lyle Alzado? Give me a break. A-Rod, Barry Bonds. Bonds looks good. Anyway, it's always about PEDs, performance-enhancing drugs. What can make you better, last longer? You could 162-game season. You stay fresh so your abilities can really peak. And, it doesn't necessarily make you stronger, but it makes you feel fresh every day, which, shit, that helped me out.
And you can recover faster.
You basically recover faster. And does horrible shit to your body in the long term. But that's not the drugs we're talking about. Major League likes to focus on drugs, drug abuse, and they always refer to performance-enhancing drugs when everybody knows that the fun drugs are the ones that really should be being talked about. If you have any idea about Major League Baseball and the history of it, teams like the 86 Mets, guys that used to party or drink hard, Billy Martin of the Yankees, Mickey Mantle was a beast with that stuff. I mean, there's countless. The more and more I looked up Major League players and like substance abuse problems, dude, it's not even funny. You could fill the Titanic a couple times with all these dudes. And it was rampant, too. That's the thing that tripped me out. It wasn't a handful of guys throughout the league. And we're talking the 1940s even, 50s, 60s, 70s, especially the 80s were out of control. And the one thing we want to focus on today, I don't know if any of you out there have heard of it. A lot of you have. I believe ESPN did a 30 for 30 segment on it about the Pittsburgh Drug Trials. You familiar with that, Brian?
Mm-hmm. I think we talked about that briefly.
I think you brought it up
in the intro or last episode,
possibly in the episode. But for those of you that are not or are unaware of the Pittsburgh Drug Trials, that was in the mid 80s. The Pittsburgh Pirates had basically a ridiculous amount of cocaine flowing through their locker room, being brought in and out by numerous just random drug dealers in the city of Pittsburgh. It was set up through other guys. So there were drug dealers frequenting the locker room, dropping off 8 balls, grams of cocaine, amphetamines, all kinds of stuff. The whole team was on it, and they did it. They all basically got popped, and they did an investigation into the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Drug Trials of 1985 were the catalyst for a Major League Baseball-related cocaine scandal. Several current and former members of the Pittsburgh Pirates. This isn't talking about today. This was back then. So a bunch of members of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we're talking Dale Berra, that's the son of Yogi Berra, Lee Lacy, Lee Mazzilli, John Milner, Dave Parker, Rod Scurry, and other notable Major League players, Willie Aikens, Vida Blue, Enos Cabell, Keith Hernandez, Jeffrey Leonard.
Keith Hernandez?
Yeah, Tim Raines. I had all these guys' baseball cards. Lonnie Smith. I remember him with the Braves. Alan Wiggins. They were all called before a Pittsburgh grand jury. Their testimony basically led to the drug trials, which made national headlines in September of 1985. So there were 11 players that were officially suspended, but all the suspensions were commuted in exchange for fines, drug testing, and community service. That'd be kind of cool. The Pittsburgh Drug Trials are considered one of baseball's biggest all-time scandals, albeit one that was behind the scenes and did not affect play on the field. Bullshit. So that's what they're trying to claim. But so you get the idea here. A bunch of dudes were doing a bunch of blow in Pittsburgh in the mid-'80s. To the point where it was too obvious, and they did a major undercover investigation, and they popped a bunch of major leaguers on that team, 11 to be exact, all the people involved. This one kind of blew my mind. Ex-Pirate John Milner talked about getting amphetamines. That's meth for those of you that don't know. Amphetamines from Hall of Famers Willie Mays and Willie Stargell. I did not know that Willie Stargell and Willie Mays were tweakers. I had no idea. I could see him doing a bump of coke here or there and getting drunk and smoking some doobs, but Had no idea that they were doing amphetamines, but then I found out after looking into this, almost every Major League Baseball player was doing tweak. So, yeah, Milner also had that he bought 2 grams of cocaine for $200 in the bathroom stalls at Three Rivers Stadium during a Pirates-Houston Astros game in 1980. $200 for 2 grams? Call me crazy, but isn't an 8-ball 3.5 grams? As in, it's an eighth of an ounce, which is 3.5 grams.
I wouldn't know.
I don't want to blow my cover, but that, back, 10 years ago, 90 to 120, $200 for basically half of that back then.
Someone was getting a cut.
Yeah, dude, that's some serious gold. Or if they're using golden straws to snort it with. Yeah, that Keith Hernandez revealed, if you guys all know Keith Hernandez, our buddy Keith, an 86 Met. Of course he was on the 86 Mets, and he was involved in this. I'm starting to think Keith Hernandez was just a coke dealer and nothing more. It's like wherever cocaine was in the 70s and 80s, you'll find Keith Hernandez there. Keith Hernandez revealed he had used cocaine for 3 years. Hernandez later added that about 40% of all Major League Baseball players were using coke. And then he later retracted that, said he grossly overshot that. I'm thinking he meant like there's more, not less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one trips me out. You guys remember Tim Raines? You guys, lots of you listeners remember Tim Raines. I had his baseball card in the 80s on the Expos, and I remember watching him play. He was really fast. He was a great hitter, great leadoff guy, stole a shitload of bases, and I think we know why now. Here's my favorite about this. Tim Raines' nickname, and I remember this as a kid, Tim Rock Raines. You guys remember that? Rock, that was his nickname. You think about it, a fast, speedy base stealer, leadoff guy that hits for average. Why the fuck would his name be Rock? Mike Scioscia would be like a rock. He's a catcher. He don't budge. He sticks there. He's solid. He doesn't budge anywhere. I'm only assuming that after reading what I read about Tim Raines and this whole Pittsburgh Drug Trials scandal, that his name, Tim Rock Raines, is definitely associated with cocaine. Let me inform you guys here. If you did not know this about Tim Raines, I didn't. This shit blew my mind. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, Tim Raines said, I guess in like 82, he started using coke, and he went into like a rehab where he became more addicted. He met more coke heads in there, and then that happens a lot. Yeah, no, totally. And it said and then from then on, he just went in and he became part of the whole Pittsburgh Drug Trials. But he stated that he kept cocaine on him at all times. He said like during games, all this stuff. And that he would slide head first so he wouldn't like destroy his cocaine, and by bursting it open in his pocket. And then he admitted, dude, he was like dudes that I knew growing up partying that when they really got into it. Like, this is the crap you're saying. He admitted doing coke at all times of the day, in his car, in the dugout, in the parking lot, the locker room. Like, he was just basically doing key kickers before he ran back and forth to the field. Like, that's pretty gnarly, dude. Like, hey, guy's doing a bump here. It's late night doing it. But it seems like Raines, he's like sliding into second base with a straw in his nose, just fucking like going in head first, like just coming up, fucking dusting himself off, fucking putting like water up his nostrils. Just like fucking slides in head first and does a rail, comes up, and he's all like doing like fucking gagging and shit.
This is funny, like, that he started to sense that there was a problem during a plate appearance in his second MLB season. Because he said, I remember in an at-bat, the only reason why I remember this is because the guy threw me a pitch, and I ducked out of the way like the ball was going to hit me. The umpire called it a strike, and I looked back at the umpire like, the ball must hit me, and he goes, the ball's right down the middle of the plate. He's like, I'm like, huh? Either you're blind or I'm blind. Fucking great. He was so paranoid.
He was all paranoid. He was seeing breaking pitches that weren't breaking. The thing is, if you've done coke, that's not what it does to you. Unless you're up for fucking days at a time and you get delirious. But
a lot of coke.
Yeah.
Jesus.
In fact, that's what a lot of them were saying, that like they used cocaine a lot and amphetamines because it wasn't like it made you stronger. It didn't make you better. You already had the ability. But when you're playing 162 games a year, they said that in order to be good, it's not feeling fresh even so much like steroids or HGH does. They were just like, fuck feeling good. I need to concentrate for 3 hours as hard as I can right now. And that's what cocaine and amphetamine does. Like, you need to really bear down on something and really execute it and be on point all the time to succeed. That's what baseball is. You have to execute. You've got to be like talking about picking up the seams on the ball during a pitch. Like I guarantee you,
seams,
fucking
man.
meth and coke. Yeah, just like right when it left their fingers. You're like, oh, curveball. Like, you can see the spin on it. Slider, look at the dot. Like coming in. Like, I don't doubt that at all. It makes total sense to me. Like, yeah, that's probably the best drug recreationally to use.
Isn't it also a pain reliever?
Coke, yeah. Like dentists, they would numb your fucking gums and shit up. Lidocaine,
yeah, so they
cocaine.
probably couldn't feel any pain when they were running.
Right. Imagine you get hit by a pitch and you just go snort a rail. Oh, where'd that get you? In the butt. Oh, good thing I was all fat there. Yeah, it kind of hurts though. I'll be right back. fucking. Oh, all right, it's all gone. No, I'm good to go, man. Who else was all? Keith Hernandez was a big part of it, as we mentioned. Keith was like the center of that. He admitted using cocaine like 3 straight seasons with them. That's boring, but basically Keith just shut up and did a lot of coke. Yogi Berra's son. See, I didn't even know he had a son, and I guess he was involved in all this. I guess Dale Berra was just a wasteoid. Like his whole career, he was highly touted right out of high school. If you guys didn't know that, Yogi Berra's son was supposed to be the next thing. Like he was picked 20th overall in the amateur draft in '75 by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then got brought up and went straight into the coke wars. And seriously, dude, he had problems from the beginning to the end, never really stabilized. He had problems with alcohol, did a lot of cocaine, like a lot of them all did, except he wasn't successful. Like the guy, Tim Raines, was kicking ass and doing blow. Keith Hernandez was kicking ass, getting gold gloves and doing blow. Dale Berra was just
178 in 19 games for the Astros in 1987.
Yeah, no, he retired in '88, but Dale Berra never. I think he's started for only 3 years in his career, hit like 246 career hitter, milked it for 11 years, and finally, after a bunch of coke and alcohol induced bullshit, he finally retired in 1988. But he was part of that. And the thing is, here's the thing that was so rampant: 11 players. We named them all. The guy that left. In the middle of the Houston Astros game, late innings, there was a guy, Rodney Scurry. He was another player, just one of the 11 on the team. That dude, it said that in the middle of a late inning game, he actually left the stadium to go meet a coke dealer to get coke for the game in like the 7th, 8th inning. Yeah, this guy was hardcore. He would be like leaving the stadium to go pick up 8 balls instead of having them come to the stadium to
during the game.
During the game, this guy was bad news. He it's kind of sad. He actually died of a cocaine-induced heart attack at age 36, dude.
That's crazy.
You got to be doing a lot of blow. Rest in peace, Rodney. But yeah, he was part of it. Like they said, they named Dusty Baker was in there, Vida Blue, Gary Matthews, his son played, Tim Raines, we already mentioned, Rod Scurry, we just brought up, Lee Lacey's in it, Claudell Washington. He was the manager of the Kansas City Royals when they won the World Series in 2015 or 16. He was an old player. Claudell's great. I think he's a base coach for the Rangers, but he was involved in that. Yeah, I mean, cocaine use is pretty rampant. There was a story about Sweet Lou Johnson from the 1960s Dodgers. He was in all those pennants with Koufax, Drysdale. He's the center fielder. He got so wrapped up in coke, he had to go into a rehab, and he eventually was so bad at one point, he sold his World Series ring for like $500 to get a couple 8 balls. Like, and then he actually gave all this information out later on in his career as he worked as a spokesperson for the Dodgers.
Jesus. Man,
center field back in the day, in the 60s, used to get 8 balls. Dude, it's crazy to me how many people were actually like using it a lot. Like I'm almost positive Mickey Mantle did any of those guys. I have no proof. Actually, Mickey Mantle's one of those probably weirdos that's like, I'll drink myself into a stupor, drive drunk, bone all kinds of chicks, get all kinds of sexually transmitted diseases, but I don't touch cocaine. That shit's bad for you. He's one of those dorks. I knew an alcoholic like that. Fucking guy would drink 12, 14 beers a night, but one time we asked him like, hey, you want a cocktail? He's like, oh, I don't drink hard alcohol. Oh, fuck. Yeah, he stays away from the crazy shit. He just drinks 13 fucking beers in like 4 hours and he's cool. But yeah. Damn. Anyway, I think he was probably like that. I didn't know that cocaine and amphetamine. I'd heard about amphetamine use. Like Oral Hershiser had mentioned a bunch of stuff about how going late night East Coast road trips. You'd be in like New York at Shea Stadium, and it's inching into after 10 o'clock, which is back at 1 o'clock on the West Coast, and they're getting up into the bullpen. And he said there'd be cups of coffee or marked, and the ones with the red tape meant if you had that, you were probably going to stay up till noon the next day, and the other ones are regular. So he's like, I tried to avoid the ones with the red tape on them, but boy, I made a mistake or two a few times. I was like, yeah, I'm sure it was a mistake, dude. But yeah, they used to basically put ephedrine and fucking crystal meth in there. What'd they call them? Greenies?
Was it Greenies?
Yeah, no, the name of basically it was speed, the same type of crap Elvis was popping. It was just prescribed speed from the doctor. They called them Greenies.
Isn't that Adderall?
Basically, it was like Adderall.
Or Vyvanse?
So there was a bunch of that. But yeah, recreational drug use. Everyone's always tripping out on, they like steroids, PEDs, what those guys take then. What'd they take then? They took fucking lines of coke, a lot of them were heroes, all right. They were blow heroes, Willie Mays is my hero. It's like, yeah, I didn't know he was a hero either until I did some research. He was a blow hero, dude. Like, it was all like these
little kids are just like, oh, you're the greatest, and he's like, man, you got any coke?
Yeah. Yogi Berra's son. They're like running out of 8 balls. They're getting down to the last part of the 8 ball, and everyone's gathering around like, hey, save some for me, save some for me. Yogi Bear's all, hey, it was like my old man used to say, it ain't over till it's over. So if you're unfamiliar with the Pittsburgh Drug Trials, you're not familiar, and we're trying to talk about it, and you're not really getting it, you can go Google it. But here, we got some clip from back in the day. Kind of explain it to you. It's kind of classic too. Brian, go ahead and roll it.
Now, the other story in baseball, the darker story, the drug trial of Pittsburgh, and there has been a new development, a guilty verdict in the trial of Curtis Strong. Here's James Polk.
Throughout the long courtroom battle, defense lawyers for Curtis Strong tried to put Spaceball on trial. The prosecution called Strong a traveling salesman for cocaine, but the defense argued the baseball players were trying to make Strong a scapegoat to save their rich salaries. It took the jury 2 days to reach a verdict, guilty on 11 of the 14 counts of selling cocaine to players. The maximum penalty, 15 years on each count. The judge told the jury younger baseball fans may now see their idols with feet of clay, but should also see the evils and dangers of drugs, a theme the prosecution echoed.
And I hope that the verdict and the facts in this case send a message to the youth of this country, especially about the dangers of cocaine.
Strong, once a clubhouse cook for the Philadelphia Phillies, will be sentenced 1 month from today. He was jailed without bail, led away from the court in chains. Defense lawyer Adam Renfro promised an appeal.
It's not over till it's over.
The guilty verdict included one drug sale inside the Pittsburgh Pirates clubhouse and other cocaine sales to Dave Parker of the Cincinnati Reds, Enos Cabell of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and Lonnie Smith of the Kansas City Royals, who also made a drug buy for his former St. Louis teammate Keith Hernandez, now with the New York Mets. Among the prosecution's final words to the jury at the close of the 3-week trial, the players have disgraced themselves and their profession, and that may well be the final verdict for the public. James Polk, NBC News, Pittsburgh.
So yeah, that's the Pittsburgh Drug Trials. Pretty cool shit. Pretty crazy if you'd never heard of it before. I didn't know much about it. It came up yesterday when I started diving into cocaine use amongst Major League Baseball players and the history of it. And I was like, oh, wait, I had only heard briefly, but never dug into it. So that was the Pittsburgh Drug Trials, a brief glimpse for you if you'd never heard about it. Pretty fascinating shit. We could do a whole episode on it, but I don't want to bore you to tears too much. It's pretty fun to talk about. But speaking of drugs in the Major League Baseball, we got another guy, Doc Ellis. Here's the thing that tripped me out is in especially in the 60s and more into the 70s, early 80s, was when hallucinogens became big, like LSD, acid, even like ecstasy, even marijuana back then, mushrooms. That stuff became obviously really big. The whole hippie generation, Woodstock, anti-nom sentiment, you know what I mean? Yeah. And think about the players in that era that were, going to college, got drafted out of college, and then going to college in the 60s in America, dude. That was like beer and titties, dude. That was just beer and titties. Free sex, free drugs. Everybody loved each other. So people were taking advantage. But think of the drugs that even the athletes were taking. There's got to be stories from boxing to football to basketball to hockey, definitely to baseball about frying balls. taking LSD, and everyone's heard the story. Most loose baseball fans have heard, or maybe they haven't heard, of the story about Doc Ellis, the old pitcher for, lo and behold, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Who the hell else? He pitched for them in the 70s, and he threw a no-hitter while frying on LSD. It's really bitchin' story. He didn't know he was pitching that day. He didn't. He thought he was just there in San Diego on the road trip, and he's like, shit, I'm off today. I'm going to drop some acid. Fuck it. I think it was 1970. So he took some acid, and then they said, oh, hey, shit, so-and-so can't make the cut tonight. He's got a bad arm or shoulder hurt, something. You got to fill in. So you got the start tonight, dude. And he was like, oh, okay, fuck it. But it wasn't like he was like, oh, shit, I got to do it. And people like to make, like, I think that's bullshit trying to make that excuse, because I researched this Doc Ellis cat. He was all about doing like hallucinogens. He was talking about how he would take LSD to medicate himself anyway, because he had this big fear of failure and everything. And so he would take LSD to just have a trip and go through it. So, you know, it was how he dealt with his fear of failure. So he said, I started doing it all the time when I was playing because it helped me. And I was like, that's wild. Like, dude, I can't even leave the house, take a shit. I tried LSD a couple times years ago, and I couldn't function. I don't know how the fuck this dude was like, man, it's a great day out here. I think I'll just throw a no-hitter. Like, you know how hard it is to throw a no-hitter in the major leagues? I think they average 2 no-hitters a year in baseball, and there's 30 teams. Each team plays 162 games a year. Comes out to like 2 out of every like almost 5,000, 400 and 800 something games there's a no-hitter. That's how difficult it is to throw one. There's been 318 since 1876.
Jesus.
That's it. Playing 30 teams, playing 160 games a year. For that long, there's only 318 no-hitters. So it's virtually everything has to be absolutely perfect.
The players have to be
no
perfect.
bloop hits, no little weak liners, no errors. Everybody, the ball's hit right to everyone. You're striking fuckers out. Like, it has to work out absolutely perfect for that to happen. That's why it's happened so few. And this dude was taking acid. He's like, yeah, I'll just pop LSD, and whoa, lo and behold, shit, I threw a no-hitter. Like, that dude better play the lottery, dude. Like, if he's alive today, dude, the chances of that happening are insane. But it's fucking quite a story, and it's bitching. I think we got some real little clips of Doc Ellis talking about it. Let's get into it. Let's check it out. Let's check out the acid man throwing a no-hitter, see what's going on with it.
7th inning, Doc Ellis working on a no-hitter. Doc Ellis has put 9 men on the bases, 8 walks and 1 hit batsman. With 3 outs, separate him and a no-hitter. Somewhere along the line, I'm sure this is all being recorded so that we can have it for Doc if he throws the epic.
I love that.
Is this, because we'll cut
Looking out at the scoreboard, he can see 0-0-0 where it says San Diego.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I wanted. Yeah. I kind of just want to get him talking.
During the time when I was pitching the no-hitter in San Diego, I really didn't know, I didn't see the hitters. All I could tell was if they was on the right side or the left side. As far as seeing the target, the catcher put tape on his fingers so I could see the signals. But as far as seeing the batter themselves, I didn't really see who they were. The opposing team and my teammates, they knew I was high, but they didn't know what I was high on. They didn't really see it, but I had the acid in me, and I didn't know what I looked like with that acid. I had lost all concept of time.
I would too.
It was easier to pitch with the LSD because I was so used to medicating myself. That's the way I was dealing with the fear of failure. You know, if Doc's pitching, you know it's high. How high is it? I pitched every game in the major leagues under the influence of drugs.
crazy.
Well, okay, so every game in the major leagues under the influence of drugs. I kind of get that. Like, no, like if you can handle it,
the
and you
pressure,
don't know any
yeah.
better. Like, it's crazy because I was just thinking, like, do you know how hard that must have been, dude? But to him, it was nothing. It was second nature. Like, dude, I can barely smoke weed and go to the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like,
I think you could.
I do it all the time, but it's never.
You could have 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. No, that's when I would get paranoid. Anyway, what I'm saying is like that, the idea like you can't do certain things when you're stoned or when you're drunk and you think you can. Like, go seriously, if you're drunk trying to go throw a no-hitter, I can barely play Parks and Rec softball drunk and be good. If I'm really drunk, I can drink and do it, but being actually drunk, like, fuck that. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
Being on acid, like I said, there's a lot of people I know that can't do shit. They can't even drive when they're stoned. And I was like, this dude was like, yeah, I'm gonna pop a tab and fucking go play baseball at the highest level on earth and succeed at the highest level on earth. I know I just repeated myself, but it's fucking, I cannot imagine, like, you know, where it becomes so second nature and comfortable to you, frying balls. What do they say? That legally, if you've taken acid over like 7 times, you're considered legally insane. That's what they used to say. Do you remember that? Or was that a scare tactic they used?
I always heard
we
that
were in high school?
It stays in your spine, and like 50 years later, you get high.
That's where that's where the flashbacks come from. It's in your
flashbacks.
system and all this stuff. You're gonna deal with psychosis later and all this crap.
I was like, yeah, I'll stay out of that.
Yeah. But no, it's wild. Is like this guy did it because LSD at that time was like pretty new. Like they were experimenting with labs trying to make it for antipsychotics. Severe depression, clinical depression, like bipolar, manic depressive stuff.
And they were doing MK Ultra testing back then as well.
Yeah, which is what? That's Brian's all. Let me find it.
Yeah, so MK Ultra was an illegal human experimentation program developed by the CIA to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used in interrogations to weaken individuals. Basically brainwashing and psychological torture.
Wow. So it is everything that you've heard, you know, when conspiracy theorists tell you that shit and other people go, they didn't used to do that. And it's like, no, they did.
Yeah.
They absolutely did. How the fuck do you think they got half the medications that do work? A lot of people died. No, but that's crazy. Yeah, exactly. They were doing experiments. Well, I have a story for you about acid. Was my grandmother worked for Walt Disney Studios. I'm talking back in the 30s when she was pregnant with my mom, and late 30s. It was more early 40s. My mom's like, I'm not that old. Well, you're pretty close. Anyway, she worked for Walt Disney. She was a cell painter. She used to paint cells for like Snow White. She worked on Snow White, Dumbo, Fantasia, all these big hits, you know.
So she already had the outlines that she just...
Yeah, they had like the clear back things, you know, and those were the backdrops, basically different scenes, but they would move and they'd have to paint a bunch of them. And then
you had a color cell.
Exactly, a color cell go over, and those ones were the ones where they would, the motion.
It's like Photoshop layers, if you guys are into Photoshop.
Yeah, if you're into that today. But so she worked there, but she met all these great people. And then years later, she lived down here in Oxnard Shores, Hollywood Beach Mobile Home Park. And when she lived there, one of her neighbors was a guy that also worked for Disney back in the 60s and 70s named Don Peterson.
That's
I think
crazy. Don
has passed away now, but Don, we'd go over there after my grandma passed away, and I remember, I think I was washing windows at junior college at the time, and it was their house I did. So when I was like, oh, hey, Don, I'm June Hayes' grandson. Oh, yeah. Hey, how's it going? We were talking, and he started telling me stories about when he worked for Disney. They set him up in this big house with a swimming pool over the PCH, like in Orange County, and then further up like Malibu, and for like a few years. And his whole job was to relax in paradise and come up with Planet of the Apes, the scripts, like for the big movies that were put out with Charlton Heston and stuff. It was through Disney and other, you know, but he did a bunch of stuff like that, and he was a writer, but he was an artist. He was a painter. And he told me that the Disney Corporation came to him and offered him a shit ton of money to take LSD, take acid, sit in a room and draw and paint and do art and see what he came up with.
If this podcast isn't on in like a couple days, it's because of Disney, okay?
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, those fuckers. They're going to get monetized by Disney. Isn't that wild? But that's at the time, no one knew what it was. And I said to Don, well, fuck, did you do it? Yeah. I was all excited. I was like, dude, that sounds bitchin'. You're going to pay you like 50 G's to drop acid? And he's all, hold on. He's all, we didn't know what the long-term effects of acid and LSD on the brain were at the time. That was part of the thing. Like, let's see the bitchin' stuff you come up with on the color boards and all this and your designs and what goes on inside your head and what you're producing, because it could be really fun and wild, something new. But also, hey, we're giving you a lot of money because if something goes wrong medically, here, sign this paper, by the way, and you become a vegetable or a fucking pushing around an empty shopping cart in downtown Ventura with a permanent staph infection on your face screaming about socialism.
Jesus.
That's not our problem. You decided to do that. We were just helping you out. Yeah. But no, so they would do shit like that. And it's wild to me that that's like the same time that Doc Ellis was like just dropping acid, like he said, pretty routinely to medicate and help deal with stuff and his fear of life and failure and everything else. So it's like Disney had the same ideas. Like, let's see what you come up with and how you act. Do you want to take all this acid and paint? Here's all this money. But he said he didn't do it. And I was disappointed, but I was like, I got it though. Cause I think that's why I never became a full-fledged drug addict, because I'm too paranoid to do that shit, especially with diabetes. Like I remember I've taken mushrooms, all that stuff. And that was always the first thing in the head was like, you got to be able to stay grounded to monitor this. Like and pick up on your feelings. And later I found out like you don't lose contact with your feelings like that. To where you're like, I did do ecstasy one time and I remember being a little confused. Like, I can't tell because it felt good, but something was a little off. It's like, am I really paranoid right now? And it feels so good from this drug that I'm kind of noticing it, or is something off? But I was still grounded enough to be like, oh, I'll check my blood sugar. And I checked it, pricked my finger, and it was a little low. And I was like, okay, I need to eat something. And I ate and it was fine. And the other time I did it, I didn't have my blood sugar. This was before sensors. I didn't have my blood sugar machine on me. Your body would tell you, because you'll start sweating and freaking out if you were getting a low sugar and you didn't have your machine on you. I'm not sure. Anyway, that was the thing. I was like, oh, is this why ecstasy is an antidepressant? Because I got to the point where I was laying there. I'm like, gosh, instead of getting worried about it, I was like, whatever, I feel great. I guess if I die, I die. You know, it's cool. I feel good right now. Like that was the thought process. And it was like, it wasn't that extreme that I would have let that happen, but you get it. It was like, cigarettes.
You're like, yeah, you can smoke while pregnant.
Yeah, right? You can smoke inside with your kids at the breakfast table, in the car, and then like your kid who never smoked got lung cancer and shit and heart disease at like 35. And what was that from?
Kids in France were smoking cigarettes too.
Oh, yeah. That's my son just went to Italy, and that was he's saying. Everybody over there smokes. They have those piercing, sad blue eyes and like a mustache staring at you while they just blow smoke out your face. They all look like supermodels and shit, but they're smoking. Chicks are smoking. They have gorgeous green blue eyes, long jet black hair, and like hairy armpits, sucking on a heater.
What are you talking about right now?
The chicks in Italy.
Is this someone in specific or?
No, just all of them.
Oh, okay.
All the Euros, dude. Smoking is cool there. Fuck, you think smoking's cool in Europe? Try going to Asia. Dude, I think the air pollution in China is from all the people smoking, not the fucking factories. All right, we're getting off topic here. Hey, is there any more with Tim?
Yeah, I got this other clip here.
Oh, let's check that out.
To the major leagues, and you say, I got to stay here. What do I need? Oh, yeah, I need some of this shit right here. It was Dexamil, better known baseball as greenies. I didn't know that the stimulants would enhance your performance. It gives you the impression that you're throwing hard sometimes, pinpoint control, breaking off curveballs that you never seen before. You're more in tune with what you're doing, and you zeroed in. You like what they call in the zone now. And sometimes you feel before the game, if you're warming up, say, oh man, I don't have shit on the ball. I don't know what's gonna happen. And go out there and throw a hell of a game. I would say over 90% of major leagues was using Dexamil when I was playing. Yeah, it was all high.
No, it was about 95%, maybe 96%.
I mean, I took greenies. Everybody did.
All it was like drinking 15 cups of coffee and going, maybe 20 cups of coffee, and going out there and pitching a ball game.
If you didn't take it, you're going to get released and sent home. I wasn't going back to my hood. So I took it, yeah. I mean, everybody did.
trainers would distribute them in the 60s, but then at some point they were outlawed, and so it went underground, but players still used it. I didn't get into that, but I knew other guys did. But it was tough. It's demanding. You're playing 162 games in that 180-day time period, and it's 9 innings. It's 3 hours of concentration at an extremely high pitch. All it takes is just a little bit of a lack of concentration in a major league game to make the big difference.
You see, okay, so you just watched all that. That's what I'm saying about people have always been up on performance enhancing drugs, but they're talking about like human growth hormone steroids. Mm-hmm. And it's like, to me, there was some part of me that's like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit and tell you that I didn't play even Parks and Rec softball with all my buddies in our early 20s doing blow and coming off of like taking mushrooms the night before, doing all that. Just, no, really. And I'll tell you, dude, you absolutely concentrate way more. I remember playing and even slow pitch park and stop, digging balls at third that were rifled at you, hitting the ball, seeing it, throwing it. Even in my bullshit Parks and Rec, like you absolutely haven't like a little like, it's just more focused. You're like, bam, like you can nail things, and that totally makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Like it's shocking to me. I think anyone that genuinely thinks about it is like, oh, it doesn't surprise me. I think that as a kid that grew up enamored by baseball and the major leagues, and I want to do that when I grow up, and these guys are so clean and friendly and cool, mm-hmm. and then you realize like, no, dude, there's some real fucking gangsters and fucking thugs and just dirtbags and party guys like we all were at one point that have made careers out of this. And like that dude said, he's all, hell no, I'm not getting released. I ain't going back to the hood. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck yeah. Like, no, do speed to keep up with the rest of you? Like, yeah, I want my job.
No one gets caught.
No, exactly. You're not like looking at getting in trouble and you feel fine. Fuck it. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, the stimulants, cocaine, amphetamines, greenies, as we just say, Dexamil, that was a huge thing. And, I'm surprised. Like today's game, I want to know. Guys use something. Mm-hmm. Like nothing has changed. Do you guys get that? Like they're using something today. Don't give me this Red Bull shit. Coffee. Oh, we all go to Starbucks with Justin Turner before the game. We're all sweet. Bullshit. Who's doing what? Do you know what I mean? There's got to be. I had a friend that played like college football, and he was like, oh yeah, they'll just pump all of us athletes full of anything they can get away with. Don't even have to be legal. If they can get away with it, we're taking it. Here's my thing too, is like PEDs, when we're talking about that not fun stuff to talk about just because it's boring. But like, there's no fucking way that the NFL checks their guys the way MLB does. Because it seems like MLB gets popped, like Fernando Tatis Jr., mm-hmm. I know he's a star and they probably check those guys a little more, but bullshit. You'll hear about minor league pitchers getting thrown out for fucking 60 games because that. And it's like, you're going to sit here and tell me that the guys in the NFL, those dudes are on everything they can get their hands on.
With all those hits. And they have to take.
Constantly. I'm sorry, dude. They don't build people that big regularly. Like, dude, like a naturally big dude, 6'4", 225, a guy like Clayton Kershaw or a pitcher in the major leagues that's like a big guy like that, like 6'3", 225, pure muscle. Like you probably like that's a naturally big dude. There used to be a guy. Do you remember Matt Holliday played for Matt Holliday reminded me of a naturally big guy that wasn't like a weightlifter football type. He was just, that's what you should look like if you're that size and you work out and eat like without enhancing anything.
Just a Midwest.
My friend who played football said that when we saw him one day. He's like, that Matt Holliday, that's what dudes should look like. They shouldn't look like Mark McGwire. Mm-hmm. They should look like Matt Holliday if they're doing natural. You know what I mean? And I always thought that because I was like, look at the NFL. Every fucking guy in there, like especially linemen, dude, or defensive line, D-backs, any of that shit that don't have to move a ton, like be too quick and agile, but more of like a force. Like you're talking an average 6'2" to 6'4", 320 pounds of just like other countries see our football players here and they're like, bullshit.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like humans are not that fucking big that much. We got a few big guys over here in our sports leagues, or big guys just big, and it's like, whoa, it's a big spectacle. That's every other one of your fucking guys over there.
And they can deny it all they want, just like the Liver King story where he was like, I'm not on anything. Bullshit.
You aren't. You're full of shit. Yeah, they're all lying, dude. There's no way. It doesn't happen that way.
Same thing with the Scherzer thing. I guarantee you he knew about the alcohol trick.
He did. Max, absolutely. He's not fucking stupid.
Yeah.
If Max is smart enough to get through all that and figure shit out, he's also smart enough to figure out do you know what I mean?
That's why he didn't contest it.
He's like, oh, no. And, well, they even said, even the commissioner, who I can't stand, Rob Manfred, fuck his name. He even said, like, come on, we all know what happens with rosin and alcohol and dirt. It becomes like mud. It's clampy. It's like, and Max knew that. I respect Max. I like Max for
fun.
doing
He's fun.
that. I do. He's a gamer. So that was our In the Dirt segment. Yeah. So if I don't know about you, Brian, have you ever shit your pants as an adult?
If I did, I can't remember.
I don't think you did because you had to think about it. Brian took too long. You remember shitting your pants. I remember it clear as day. I was 21 years old. It was New Year's Eve. We were on State Street in Santa Barbara at oh my God, it was a Chinese restaurant, probably long gone. You know what it did? It wasn't even the food. We had barely started eating. But I had sat down and I went to I had a few bites of like ramen noodles or something, or maybe it was chow mein, lo mein, I don't know what the fuck it was. And I was eating it and I had that spicy mustard sauce and it was like gasoline vapors. And when I went to put it, like I was opening my mouth to eat it, like, and the vapors like went up like where I was like, it was like horseradish almost, but like extreme. And I was like, oh, and as I like inhaled it, like made it, I don't know, dude, it like Heimlich me. And I was like, coughed, sharted, like it was and I was like,
in the chair.
At the chair, and I got up and like I was laughing. I had a sip, and I couldn't really tell, and I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I went up, and dude, the minute I got up, like George was saying, it was like, I don't know if you've ever, like, dude, it was like running down the back of my thighs, like it was a pure water bomb. Something popped and just started leaking. It's like I broke my water for the shit baby I was about to give birth to, dude. I stood up, and I don't know if you've ever tried to walk when you shit your pants like you didn't shit your pants. It's virtually impossible. It's like a little kid that sits in gum or has something spilt on him, or you're standing up pulling your like pants away from your skin, trying to separate the two as you're walking, and kind of like you're going through mud. Yeah, dude, like you're squashing grapes with your bare feet almost. But yeah, that happened to me. But dude, that's pretty funny. Anyway, any pants shitting stories, feel free to send them in to us.
Yep.
Comment below. We want to give a shout out to the Get Heavy podcast with Craig and Big J. That's a local podcast, the Get Heavy podcast. Definitely tune in. I was a guest on the other day. They do a lot of great stuff, talk a lot about the local music scene and a lot of jokes and debauchery. Two really good guys, Big J and Craig.
Yep.
That's the Get Heavy podcast. Go tune in. I was just on it. Start subscribing to them. Follow them. Start subscribing and following to us here at Screwballs.
That's right.
So we can start having more fun with this. And another thing, May 20th. That's May 20th. It's a ways out. I'll do more. May 20th in East Ventura on Kimball and Telegraph Road at 7770 Telegraph Road at the Pizza Chief out there. Once a month, we got Comedy Slice. That's my show. I created and produce and host, and I bring up, we got comedians from the Comedy Store, the Hollywood Improv. We got people off of Netflix, HBO, Showtime that are touring regularly. So we have that once a month. It's a free show, so make sure and check it out. You just got to call ahead and make a reservation for your table, and 2-item minimum. Support the business by buying beer or pizza. Come enjoy the show, and yeah, that's it. So that's May 20th this month at Pizza Chief in East Ventura. And again, follow the Get Heavy podcast with Craig and Big J. And
they also have beards, so
they have big beards. Right. Yeah, they look like ZZ Top on a Twinkie bender. But so love you guys. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Be sure and tune in next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but we'll know more when we get to it. Brian, signing off.
Signing off.
Have a good one.
When was the last time you shit your pants?
Me?
Yeah. Been a while?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I was in Vegas a couple years ago. This is an honest-to-God true story. Staying at the Bellagio. I went over to the Mirage for dinner, met some friends of mine over there. Went to Kokomo's, a great little steakhouse. The guy brings out some fresh crab legs. Said, these just came in. I got to give them to you guys. I'm eating them. Then we go play gamble a little bit. I had a tea time early in the morning. So I said, look, I got to get going. I'm walking back to the hotel. I get 3/4 of the way out of the lobby, and all of a sudden I go, oh, fuck. And I'm standing here like this. I got my butt pinched so fucking, I'm fucked. I can't move. All of a sudden, you know, felt all right. I went just like this. Water.
No way.
I had some food poisoning from the crabs. Take off my leather jacket, tied it around my waist, and I'm just standing there, and it's just running down my leg. I got jeans on, black bucks, no socks, and then I just start fucking walking. Every time I'm walking, something's coming out. It's water, straight fucking water. Then, to tell you how sick I was, then I'm standing outside, and I get on my cell phone, and I call the guy. I said, Larry, you won't believe this. I'm standing outside the fucking Bellagio. I can't move. I got shit everywhere. I shit all over myself. And Larry's about a 48 waist. So he brings me over a pair of pants and some towels. And so he comes over and he meets me where I tell him where I'm standing. He finds the closest bathroom. When you go up the escalator, you go into the I can't get in the elevator.
But you are not.
Baseball. So he goes in, he finds the closest bathroom in the lobby of the hotel, and then I get in the escalator, and he kind of pretends like he dropped something so no one gets behind me, tells me where it is. I go in there, he goes and gets the towel all wet for me, throws it over the fucking stall. I take off all my fucking clothes, just wipe off, leave my shoes, left my shoes, my pants, everything right there, the towels right there in the stall, and I'm walking barefoot with my shirt and his pants that are 48 waist through the lobby like this at midnight. Got up in the morning, took the most perfect double tapered shit I've ever had in my life. True story. Who's the pitchers in this game?